If you would like to try the bullseye design, be sure to follow along. So the first thing we're going to do is grab the middle of the mask, an inch down from the middle where we just pinched. We're going to tie a rubber band 1 inch down. Be sure to pinch that whole section right there because we want to make sure we only pinch the top part. Be sure to loop the rubber band about 3 or 4 times. You want to make sure that the rubber band is very snug. Now get your second rubber band and we're going to make sure that we tie that one 1 inch down again. You want to make sure that we continue to do this till we get to the bottom of the mask. So grab your second rubber band and loop it about 3 or 4 times. Now take your third rubber band and we're going to do the same thing. So make sure you loop that rubber band about 3 or 4 times. Your mask will begin to look like this. Now let's grab our fourth rubber band and tie that one almost at the end of the mask. If your rubber band drops, that's perfectly fine. Just pick it up and begin once again. So I'm going to loop this about 3 or 4 times at the end of the mask, just like this. Now your mask should look like this and we're ready to dye. I prefer to dye in a cooling rack because it does pick up the excess dye, but if you don't have one, napkins are perfectly fine. We're going to take our first color and we're going to begin to squeeze that on the tip of the mask. Once you're done, we're going to grab our second color and begin to fill the second section of the mask. I like to begin to squeeze in the middle of the section because it does spread. For this specific pattern that I'm going for, I am going to take the first color that I use and start filling the next section. But if you would like to use your third color now in your kit, you can definitely do so. Once I'm done with this section here, I am going to go to this section over here only because this is the pattern that I am following. Be sure not to color those straps because we are going to use another color for the straps. I'm going to go back to the second color that I used and start to fill the remaining section left on the mask. Now I'm going to grab my third color in my kit and I'm going to begin to dye the leftover part of the straps. Once you're done with that, I want you to take that same color and start adding dye next to the rubber bands. As you see, I'm going right around the mask and adding dye on all of the rubber bands. I am going back and adding more dye near the rubber bands because I want to make sure that the fabric is absorbing the dye. If you feel that you did add enough, depending on the color you're using, it's perfectly fine. Now let's flip that mask over and do it one more time. Be sure to use the same color that you use on the other side. We want the color on our mask to be very vibrant, so be sure to put a generous amount of the dye. If you do want to use the colors and add them in a different pattern and a different way, you can definitely do so. It's still going to look amazing. Once you're done applying your dye, get ready to place your mask in a plastic bag, a plastic wrap, or a Ziploc bag. Keep in mind, the longer you let the mask sit, the deeper the colors will be.
8 hours later.
Once your mask has been sitting for a few hours, start to remove it out of the Ziploc bag. You want to make sure you start to rinse it in cold water first before you remove the rubber bands. It's very important to keep on rinsing it until the water runs clear. Once the water starts running clear, turn the water to warm and start to remove the rubber bands. Also remember to recycle the rubber bands and use it for another craft. You can either wash your mask in the washer or in the sink and air dry. Check out your new mask you just created. I hope you had so much fun creating with Splash Lab.